This video is brought to you in part by my sponsors. Card Conduit is the easiest way to sell your unused Magic cards. Whether your collection is sorted or not, there's an option for everyone. With a payout averaging 19% higher than just using one buy list, you can rest assured you get the best bang for your buck, and you can get further savings of 10% on your service fees by using my affiliate link down below or the promo code MTGMudsta. 401 Games is Canada's one-stop shop for trading cards, board games, and hobby supplies. With a huge selection of cards and sealed product, first-time buyers can save 5% off their first order by using the code MTGMudsta, and returning shoppers can also use the code GOBLINS5 to save 5% on orders of singles. And Dragon Shield, the strongest sleeves for your strongest decks. You can use the promo code MUDSTA or the affiliate link down below to save 5% on your next order.
We're back. We're doing another game. You may have noticed that we're all wearing the same clothes. That's just a happy coincidence. We were filming on different nights. Don't worry about it. Tonight, I am playing Captain America First Avenger. I'm going to throw some stuff at some faces, and I'm also going to put equipment onto them and activate his abilities. So that's my deck. Max, what are you playing?
I'm playing Elmar and Hargilde. We are tapping things and then untapping them, and we're probably going to win that way.
No.
I'm playing Trynn and Silvar. I'm going to play a bunch of legendary humans and turn things sideways.
And you're Metsu.
And I'm Metsu. I'm Arca, and this is Atraxa Grand Unifier. This is a 4-color blink deck that aims to get to 7 mana, play Atraxa, and draw my whole deck. What could go wrong?
Nothing.
I draw, play an Arid Mesa, crack it and lose 1 to find a Hollowed Fountain, losing 2 more. I then cast an Esper Sentinel. Max draws and plays a Forest. He pays 1 green for Birds of Paradise. Metcha draws and plays a tapped Windbrisk Heights. Arja has a Brushland for turn and pays 1 colorless for a Soul Ring, not paying the 1. This lets me draw with the Sentinel, and Arja passes. I've got a Plateau for turn, and then dash out Ragavan. Going to combat, I hit Arja for 2 with Ragavan, exiling Arcane Signet off the top. I can't cast it though, so I just return Ragavan to hand after having made a treasure. Max draws and plays a Spectator Seating, and then casts Elmar. Going to combat, he hits me for 3 with Elmar, and passes. Metra draws, plays a Swamp, and passes. Arja's got a Mistgate Pathway for turn, and then casts an Invasion of Zendikar, with Metsu defending it. He goes to find 2 basics, and passes. I've got an Azorius Signet in my main phase, and then just normally cast Ragavan. I go to combat and hit Arja for 1 with the Esper Sentinel, and pass after that. Max plays a Mountain for turn, and goes to combat. He hits me for 3 more with Elmar, and then casts Prop Room after combat, paying the 1. He passes once it's resolved. Metcha draws, plays a Mountain, and then casts Rising of the Day. Arja's got a Hinterland Harbor for turn, and is able to tap out for Atraxa. He gets to keep an Orzhov Signet, Nature's Lore, Spirited Companion, Hollowed Fountain, Beast Within, and Soul Herder from her Enter the Battlefield trigger. He then moves to his end step and discards down to 7. I play a Seat of the Synod and go to combat. I hit Metcha for 2 with Ragavan, exiling Homura off the top of his library and making a treasure token. I then cast a Thousand Moon Smithy and pass. Max draws and plays a Forest, and casts a Nautiloid Ship, and pays the 1. He exiles Arja's Graveyard when it enters, and passes after that. Matt draws, plays a Swamp, and casts Shadowheart. Arja's turn has an island coming in, and he goes to combat. He swings Atraxa at the Invasion, and defeats it, flipping it into an Awakened Skyclave. In his post-combat main phase, he then plays a Soul Herder, and then follows up with a Stonehorn Dignitary, choosing me when it enters to skip my combat step. Before letting Arja move to his end step though, I cast Get Lost and target the Soul Herder to get rid of it. With nothing else, he passes. I draw and play an Exotic Orchard, and then remember my Thousand Moon Smithy trigger and transform it. I then cast a Talisman of Progress and pass turn. Max draws and plays an Opal Palace, and then casts a Wildfire Awakener for 4. He makes 4 elemental tokens, and uses them to crew up the Nautiloid Ship, and gets 4 triggers from tapping them, dealing 1 damage 4 times to Arja. Going to combat, Max sends the ship at me, and I take the hit. Max then passes, and during his end step, Arja casts Momentary Blink on Atraxa. With her re-entering, he gets to keep Oath of Nissa, Reclamation Sage, Azorius Signet, and Verdant Catacombs off the trigger, and we then move to Matt's turn. Mattia draws and plays a tapped Nomad Outpost, and then casts Trynn. Going to combat, Mattia swings Trynn at me for 4, which I take. Matt then moves to his end step and makes a soldier token off of Trynn, and Max also flashes out the Wandering Rescuer. He taps his creatures to convoke her, which has the elementals dealing 4 to Arca again, and he passes turn after that. Arca draws and plays a Reclamation Sage in his main phase, and as it enters, destroys the prop room. He then goes to combat and sends the Awakened Skyclave at Mathieu, and Atraxa goes at Max. They both take their beats, and Arca passes. I draw and cast Captain America using my Barrack of the Thousand, and make another Gnome token. I then cast Sigarda's Aid, and go to combat. I send a Gnome at Max, which he blocks the Wildfire Awakener. I then pass turn, and Max once more taps some creatures to crew up the Nautiloid, and as his elementals get tapped, he pings Archer for 4. Max draws, and plays a Meticulous Archive, and then casts Hargilde, and passes turn. Mathieu's got a Magus of the Wheel in his main phase, and he passes, with Arja cracking the Verdant Catacombs on his end step to go and find a land. Arja draws and plays a Deserted Beach for turn. He then goes to combat and swings Atraxa at Max for 7, which Max takes. After combat, Arja plays out a Cloud Blazer, gaining 2 life and drawing 2. He then passes, and during his end step, I flash in Hammer of Nizan and equip it onto Cap. I draw and play a Glacial Fortress, and then throw the Hammer of Nizan to deal 1 to an Elemental, 1 to a Rex Sage, and 2 to the Cloud Blazer. Max responds to the targeting by tapping his Elementals to crew up the ship, dealing 4 to Arja again, and they also gain Hexproof from the Wandering Rescuer. The other creatures then die, and once that's done, I play Lorien's Searing Light, but Arja responds with an Offer You Can't Refuse to counter it. I then go to combat and get my Captain America trigger to move the hammer back onto him. I swing my 2 gnomes and Captain America at Arja. He chumps a gnome with a Stonehorn Dignitary and takes the rest to his face, and I pass after that. Max's turn has him playing at Plains, and he crews up the ship by tapping Hargilde. Max then plays Legolas's Quick Reflexes on the ship, and has it crew itself to deal 5 to the Esper Sentinel. Max then continues by playing the Wand of the World Soul, which comes in tapped, and he untaps the ship and makes a clue token with Elmar, and he then has the ship crew itself again, this time killing Ragavan. With nothing else, Max passes. Mattia draws and plays a Painful Truths, drawing 3 and losing 3 life. He then plays an Evolving Wilds and cracks it to go and find a Plains and passes to Arja. Arja's turn has him drawing and going to combat. He hits me with Atraxa and the Skyclave, which I take. Arja then plays an Eerie Interlude on Atraxa and the Skyclave, and I respond by throwing the hammer with Captain America to take out the Skyclave. The interlude then resolves, and Arja exiles Atraxa. His second main phase then has him playing Supreme Verdict, and Matt responds by activating Shadowheart, sacrificing Trynn, and drawing 4. The board is then wiped, and Arja moves to his end step, getting Atraxa back. This time around he keeps a Peregrine Drake, Obscuring Haze, Wrath of God, Teleportation Circle, and a Plains. I've got an island for turn, and recast Captain America with the Barracks of the Thousand. I make a gnome, and then go to combat, and move the hammer onto Captain America once more. After that, I pass, with Max cracking a clue token to draw a card on my end step. Max draws and replays Elmar with Opal Palace, having it enter with 2+1+ counters. Going to combat, Max hits Mathieu for 5 with Elmar, and in his second main phase, plays Farseek to go and find a land. It's his second spell for turn, so he gets to untap Elmar and make a clue token. He then passes. Mathieu draws, casts a Soul Ring, and then plays out Kiku, passing to Arja. Arja's turn has him playing a Plains and casting a Spirited Companion. He draws a card as it enters, and then goes to combat. He swings Atraxa at me, and Mathieu steps in to keep me alive a bit longer by activating Kiku and targeting Atraxa. Arja responds to this by flashing back Momentary Blink on Atraxa and flickers her. This time around, Arca gets to keep a Ruin Scarred Demon, Flicker of Fate, Rafine's Tower, and Kiku's trigger also fizzles. Arca then moves to his end step, discarding down to 7 and passing. I play a Razortide Bridge for my land for turn, and it comes in tapped. I then swing a Gnome at Arca for 9, and he chumps with a Spirited Companion, and I pass after that. Max's turn has him playing a Scene of the Crime, and he follows up with a Fallow Sage. He then taps a Fallow Sage with Scene of the Crime to draw a card, and then casts Amara, Soul of the Accord, untapping the Fallow Sage with Elmar, plus making another clue token. He passes to Matt after that. Matt's got a Command Tower for turn, and he casts a Massacre Girl. He then passes, and Arca attempts to cast a Flicker of Fate on Atraxa during the end step. Mathieu responds with a Dire Tactics, exiling Atraxa, and Arca then just moves to his turn. Arca draws, and recasts Atraxa, this time getting a Dimir Signet, Yavimaya, Invasion of Fioria, Eternal Witness, and Cleansing Nova off her trigger. He then plays Yavimaya as his land for turn. Arca follows it up with an Eternal Witness, returning an Offer You Can't Refuse to hand, and then passes. During his end step, I flash in Caldra Complete, and I get a Gnome from the barracks, and get to free equip the Caldra onto Captain America with Sigarda's aid. I then pay to unequip Caldra, dealing 7 to Atraxa, before resolving the Hammer of Dazan trigger to re-equip it back onto Captain America. I then move to my turn. I draw and play a Sulphur Falls, and cast a Portraiser, making a Gnome off the barracks. I then move Caldra to the Portraiser, and I go to combat. I swing the Portraiser at Arca, and the rest go at Mathieu. Arca takes the hit from the Portraiser, and Mathieu chumps the 2 gnomes, but still takes 6. I also get a second combat off the Portraiser, and this time around I send the Portraiser at Mathieu, and the rest go at Max. Max crews up the ship with the Fallow Sage and Amara, drawing a card and making a soldier token. He then cracks a clue to draw a card. He blocks the damaged gnome with Elmar, and chumps the other one with his soldier token, and then takes 6 from Captain America, but gains 1 life. I get a third combat step for my Portraiser, and this time around it goes at Max, while the rest goes at Arca. Arca is able to trade his Eternal Witness for the damaged gnome, but with the Portraiser connecting to Max, I get 1 last combat step. Moving to it, I get my Captain America trigger, and move Caldra onto him this time. I then send Captain America to take Arca out, and the gnome goes at Max, who chumps with the ship. With nothing else, I pass turn. Max draws and plays Manamo, and then casts a Mist Meadow Banisher. He follows it up with a Smuggler's Buggy, and passes after that. Mathieu draws and casts an Angel of Glory's Rise, reanimating all of his humans. Massacre Girl comes in with the Angel, and Mathieu responds to his trigger by activating Shadowheart to sacrifice Massacre Girl herself and draw 5 cards. Max also uses the Scene of the Crime to tap Mist Meadow Vanisher and exile itself, and the Massacre Girl trigger then resolves and wipes the board. With nothing else, Mathieu passes. I draw and recast Captain America, making a gnome off the barracks. I then go to combat, and Max responds by tapping the Mist Meadow Vanisher to crew and blink Captain America. I then move to my end step, bringing Cap back and passing to Max. Max draws and plays a Bountiful Promenade, and then recasts Elmar with the Opal Palace. He comes in with some +1/+1 counters, and Max then crews the buggy with the Mist Meadow Vanisher, exiling Captain America once more. Going to combat, Max swings out at me, and I flash in the Lion Sash before blocks. I also get to exile Mathieu's Massacre Girl and Angel of Glory's Rise with the Sash, pumping it up and blocking the buggy with the gnome, and Elmar gets blocked to the Lion Sash. With nothing else, Max passes. Mathieu draws and plays Harsh Mercy, naming cats. I name Soldier, and Max names Wizards, with my board basically not getting wiped. Mathieu hadn't realized the gnomes were also soldiers, so he just plays Ravos and passes. I draw and play a Pure Steel Paladin, once more making a gnome token. I then get to equip Caldra onto Captain America, and then throw it at Mathieu for 7. I then rinse and repeat it 2 more times, killing Mathieu, and on the last throw, Matt casts a Crackling Doom, which kills a gnome token and maxes Elmar. Mathieu then dies, and once more I get to free equip Caldra, and I put it onto a gnome, and I then put the hammer onto Captain America. Going to combat, I swing it at Max and win the game.
Winner to loser?
Yeah, winner to loser.
That's you first, homie.
That's how that goes. So this was I'm not in the frame. So this is really good. This is a fun showing of Captain America, despite the fact that I think I only drew 3 pieces of equipment.
You drew the important one.
Which one of them was like Lion Sash, which is actually just a creature. But still can't listen to my voice now because I was yelling at Arca the whole game. But yeah, this is the best. This is the best one to draw, which is Excalibur. If you don't have this in Captain America, you're doing yourself a disservice. Also, it's pretty spiffy. But yeah, Captain America did a pretty good job of mimicking Thor, throwing hammers around, and it was a lot of fun. I think the over the top was the Pure Steel Paladin though. Max, what do you think?
I tapped things, I untapped things. It worked for a little bit, and then other people got too far ahead, and I sort of started flailing around. It's a fun deck.
I think just was missing a lot of mana for this game, and had some of the higher end creatures and didn't quite get to kind of start off with some aggressive creatures. So unfortunately, deck didn't go as great, but the Angel was pretty cool.
Yep.
If you had told me a turn 3 Atraxa wasn't good enough, I wouldn't believe you. I think the table did really good at like keeping me like guessing on when to blink Atraxa, and though I was drawing my combo pieces, I wasn't getting them in the right order. And then finally, when I tap out, I just assumed I wasn't instantly dead. I had obscuring haze in my hand. I was like, well, as long as I keep my commander, I'm fine. Yeah, that was wrong.
Skill issue.
Absolute skill
Do
issue.
you know what happens when you assume?
Oh, yeah. Your Atraxa dies.
Your Atraxa dies. So that's it. That's the game. Thanks for watching, and let us know what you think about this new format.
This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.